Okay, welcome everyone to our sixth webinar for equestrian coaches. It is actually quite a chilly Kimberley I'm talking from, and I'm sure the winter chills are starting all over the country. So tonight we are going to talk about, does coaching for various equestrian disciplines vary? And we've got our guest speakers here, Dalene Baksa from Tentpegging, Marcia de Bruto from Mounted Archery, and Lorette Taylor from Showjumping. Before we start, I would like to just give some feedback on our coach, Marianne Conlon, senior dressage coach. She suffered an aneurysm. She's still in ICU and due for an operation tomorrow, so hopefully they'll be able to remove or fix the aneurysm. So we just ask that everyone keep her in your thoughts, and good luck, Marianne, tomorrow for the operation. Then on a second note, the South African Lipizzanas. Now, due to this COVID-19, there are obviously no performances allowed. And if there's no performances, there's no money coming in, and they rely on the performances to get to feed the horses. So they're in dire straits and they need your help. So they've developed a lovely series of videos with some training and performance elements in it. And you can get access to these videos if you make any kind of donation via Back a Buddy. So it'd be like R1, but come on, don't donate R1. Who gives that? So if you can just follow the link, Regular will put it in the chat for us as well, that you can just select and copy it, and it will also go in the email that we send out. Sorry for that. Right. So yeah, if you then go onto that Back a Buddy, then you'll be able to get access to all the videos. I think it's a series of 6 or 7 that they've put together, and you can get access to that. Right, so for tonight, we have started a poll again. Let's see. So here's the poll, guys. If everyone can just quickly, it's simple yes or no answers. You can just click on it. The 3 questions here. Number 1, are you a coach? Just a yes or no. Number 2, have you ever coached outside your main discipline? And number 3, do you think that cross-pollination between coaching in different equestrian disciplines, can it be beneficial to your own coaching style? So if you can just quickly click a yes or a no in there. Now some results for us. Okay, so 95% of us here are coaches. Have you ever coached outside your main discipline? 68% have done something. And can cross-pollination between coaching in different equestrian disciplines be beneficial to your coaching style? 100% said yes. So yeah, let's tackle this then tonight. So this is the feeling of the room tonight. So tonight, we've got 3 top coaches from 3 different disciplines. They're all 3 esteemed in their various disciplines. And we're going to find out if and how coaching differs amongst the 3 disciplines. So we've got if you can just wave, Dalene Baksa from Tentpegging. Dalene, if you can just give a wave there, if everyone can see her. And then we've got Marcia de Bruto from Mounted Archery. I don't know if you guys can see that. And then we've got Lorette Taylor. So if you guys can just all unmute yourself, please. Let's start with Dalene from Tentpegging. Dalene, can you tell us who you are, what you do, and what your discipline is all about? What does one need in order to become an active participant, and where is it originated? So just give us a bit of a background on you and your discipline, Tentpegging, please. You can share the screen if you want.
I'm Dalene Baksa. I grew up in a small town near Uppington, and yeah, my dad served in the equestrian police department as a young man, and his love for horses was definitely passed on to me. And I think I was about grade 6 when I started horse riding, let alone not yet Tentpegging. Needless to say, it was definitely not in the same way that we are taught to ride a horse today, or the way that I teach children. Luckily, I survived physically, and my love of horses also survived. You know, it was a bit more rough those days. I own a Kusha Equestrian Center, and I have 33 horses on my property, of which 7 are liveries. I'm an ICASA level 3 instructor and running a riding school, and I specialize in Tentpegging. Currently, I'm also head of the International Tentpegging Federation's Women's Committee. I'm chairperson of the South African Tentpegging Coaches Commission, manager of the SA ladies team, and also a rider in the SA masters the old ladies team. You know, it's a little bit harder when you get older. So where did my sport originate? The history of Tentpegging, you can see there. It's a unique equestrian sport traced back to 500 BC, developed as a military tactic using the cavalry to disarm and confuse the enemy first, thus making it easy for the infantry to defeat them. It was then practiced in the barracks, and true to soldiery brotherhood, practices turned into a game with rules, and good-natured competition began. The sport of Tentpegging was formerly known as Gymkhana, involves swords and lances with which the rider has to strike an object at full gallop. The bond between horse and rider has no boundaries, and once a rider commences an event, the emphasis is on the object, not on the horse, thus giving over his trust to the animal to carry him through the run safely. That's a nutshell.
Right, Marcia, from mounted archery side, tell us about your discipline, mounted archery, and a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Jaco. Yeah, I think just a very quick summary. I've been privileged to move around quite a bit, and I did actually learn personally to ride in Europe. And in all of the years, I did a little bit of show jumping, and I did a little bit of endurance in Australia when I lived there. So I had exposure to quite a few disciplines. But when we came back to South Africa later on, in about 2011, we were exposed to some articles on mounted archery in the form of a cultural display from a lot of the countries that see mounted archery as part of their history and part of their culture. And it absolutely intrigued us. And since 2011, we've spent time to develop the sport, or develop mounted archery in South Africa as a sport. And yeah, I was privileged enough to be a part of a team of people that developed that. And then actually reached a point where we could compete internationally against countries that have been practicing mounted archery as part of literally as part of their history and their culture, like we would have rugby. And in the first 2 years to be in an international level, we did quite well on the senior and the junior team. And I must say these were times that were very special to me. So yes, as the time goes on, we continue to grow, and we continue to develop the sport.
Lorette Knowles-Taylor from Showjumping. Lorette, tell us very shortly what your discipline Showjumping is about. What does one need in order to become an active participant? Where did it originate? And then something about you.
Thanks, Jaco. Hi, everybody. Thanks for having us all tonight. This is quite a nice, especially bringing in the other disciplines, the lesser known to us. Okay, so show jumping, obviously, I hope everybody knows that it's the art of horses jumping over fences. I've ridden all of my life, and probably only started coaching about 15 years ago. My own achievement, personal best, is obviously my protege colors from 2006. And then in a coaching fashion, my personal best would be taking Lexi Stace to the Youth Olympics as the show jumper. Yeah, in terms of what do we need? You need work ethic to compete at a high level. Work ethic, motivation, I suppose hard. It's the same as the other two sports, I guess. All the same attributes. Willing to learn, willing to have a partnership with your steed, the ability to be open-minded, and I guess learn everything you can, as much as you can, from the athlete's perspective, and the same for the coaching.
Thank you very much. Okay, Dalene, if we can get back to you, I think for all three of you, I'd like to ask this. How big is your community? How successful is South Africa in this sport? You know, have we competed at international stage? Like, can you just give our listeners or our people in the room here a little bit of an idea of what the scene is like in South Africa. Dalene, if we can start with you for Tentpegging.
Tentpegging specifically in South Africa isn't enormous. South Africa's got about 300 active riders. I think we used to be a lot more, but we've settled around there now. What I've shown you up there is the World Cup qualifiers group. Those are countries that are participants. They might not have even 100, some of them, but our eastern countries, certainly like Egypt, Jordan, Yemen, Australia's got a few, Iran, Saudi, India, Pakistan, Bahrain, I don't know Kazakhstan people, Canada, they've just started. A lot of the, like Iraq, UAE, Qatar, England, they all are active in Tentpegging. So that is the group for the World Cup qualifier. The World Cup was supposed to be held in South Africa next year, 2021. But COVID-19 has put a spanner in the works. So internationally, we're very active because it's easier than other equestrian sports because the horse is drawn. We put horses in a pool. That makes participating easier, but riding a different horse is not always easier. You only get what we call 6 runs in an hour's time to get used to your horse, and then you have to participate. And obviously the country who's hosting has got the advantage of that. So we would like to see the numbers growing, but in the current situation that we are in financially in the world and in South Africa, it has been a drawback. I think COVID-19, this is probably something you'll ask us later, but COVID-19 has really pushed us to think out of the box. Tentpegging really lends itself to that kind of coaching. I'm not quite sure how competitions will work in the future, but certainly coaching can work. I've joined Think Riding Online with Lisa, and I'm very excited about it because I've already had requests from other countries whether I would help them, coach them, if they could send me videos and recordings and I could analyze them. Just to mention that with Tentpegging, it's twofold. You have to bring your horse up to a standard of riding, which is very, very much based on dressage and jumping. We jump with one hand over a brush jump and we pop a balloon. So our horses must know that kind of work. The rider must have that skill. But once the rider has mastered all that riding ability and the horse is schooled up well, then you focus more on the technique. Generally, what I do is I would teach the children from day one to play with the weapons, and it all becomes part of them. I don't teach it as 2 aspects as per se, but it definitely has 2 aspects, because in the international competition you must be able to ride any other horse, and riding becomes subconscious and pegging becomes conscious.
Thank you. Now, Dalene, not to be too modest, but I've read before that South Africa was quite successful internationally. Can you just give us some history on that?
Well, it's a little bit embarrassing at the moment because we're second. Up to up to the first. Well, there were different international groups, okay, different international bodies, and this International Tentpegging Federation is now associated member with FEI. We run our own things. Before that, we used to run internationals, World Cups, and South Africa was unbeaten up till 8 years ago. We lost for the first time with 6 points, and then 2021, now it was 3 years ago, we lost the second time with 8 points. It's rather embarrassing. So yeah.
Well, good coaching, obviously. So that's what this group is about. So yeah, thank you, Dalene. We have you on our team here. So yeah, maybe you can make a Tentpegger out of me yet. Who knows? Marcia, can you discuss a little bit how big is the sport in South Africa? Are there new people coming in? Where do we go? Like, how do we get involved?
Thanks, Jaco. Yeah, at this point in time, I think it would be difficult for me to say how many members there are. But if we had to compare ourselves to the rest of the disciplines, we are a very small discipline at this point. I think one of the challenges that we face is that essentially mounted archery is a combination of two sports. You've got the riding on the one side, and then you've got the archery on the other. And in the initial phase, these two are coached separately. So it's quite a challenge to start. But certainly, if we look at the growth that we had since say 2012, where we really were starting from scratch, there's really been quite a big growth, and we now have people from different provinces able to compete. I think another point also is that mounted archery as a sport internationally is also still very young. Although it's been practiced for literally thousands of years in a lot of the countries as part of their history and their culture, it only really took the form of a sport, I would guess about 20 plus years ago. So it really is a very young sport, and it's still developing as we go. And then just your question on how did we perform internationally. And the first year that we went to South Korea with both a senior and a junior team. For me, what really stood out, our junior team took over all second and third, the riders, compared to the junior riders of the South Koreans that had the ability to ride their own horses on their own ground. So we really were extremely proud of them. But what it did show to us is, even though we entered in on the international level as one of the newer countries to join the sport, it was nice to see that we were on international level. And I think as the years go by, and as we have exposure to more training techniques from other international coaches, and as a community, as we grow the sport nationally and internationally, I do think we're going to just see South Africa's performance increase.
Thank you, Marcia. Okay, and Lorette, I think showjumping is quite a well-known sport, thanks to, from those years back that Gonda Beatrix and Anna Vuchenfennig and Barry Taylor and George and all of those, George Weiberg and those people rode. But maybe you can just tell us a little bit also, where are we standing now, Lorette? Not only with Olympics, but are there other formats of competing internationally?
So we obviously know that Lisa did an overseas campaign. Unfortunately, Jaco, the sad thing, well, certainly for homebound riders, is the fact that it is quite an individual sport. I don't know from the other coaches how much of a sense of community there is in those two disciplines, but certainly on ours, and I know from Lisa's journey, which I was not intricately involved in, but obviously she's a mentor of mine, so it was row my own boat. She did it individually and got her invitations, and it was quite a fight to compete over there. Obviously, transporting the horse that she needed over there. There's all those logistical aspects that possibly the other disciplines don't really have. Obviously, the financial aspect, if we were to go and rent a show jump overseas, there's huge prohibitions, or it's prohibitively expensive. So I know this all sounds pretty negative. Our sport here, I think, is blooming. Prior to COVID, it was. I've just messaged Tiffany now to find out what our membership base is in SASJ, and it's over 2,500 members countrywide. I don't know how big that is in relation to DSA or the other two, but that's quite a number, and that's registered riders. Hey, that's not including SANISA. SANISA, I know, would incorporate single riders that probably competed across the board in all sorts of other disciplines, but we've probably got another 2,500 show jumpers on a SANISA basis, that's pretty good for our sport. The challenge I see with SANISA is that we never seem to find graded riders coming up. Always hear from the SANISA riders or the parents that financial constraints restrict them from moving into our graded system, which, you know, I think needs to be looked at from a the powers that be perspective.
Okay, thanks, Lorette. Dalene, if I know that you've got a video clip of actually a run and how it works in Tentpegging. Maybe you can just show that a little bit how it works, and then also if you can just discuss while we're talking about that, also maybe what kind of horses do you use? Is there a specific type? Can anyone, can any horse work? If you want to just maybe elaborate on that a little bit. Thank you.
Let me tell you about the horse first. I think you have to really love that animal, because if you miss that pig, you want to blame somebody or something, and you better not blame your horse, or I'll be on top of you. So your love must be beyond. If you love the horse, you're very forgiving. So contrary to the general thought out there that Tentpegging horses are fast, crazy, quick, run like mad, actually it's the total opposite. We want a half-dead horse that can just make the speed, that I don't have to work so hard on to control it. Because to ride, everybody who rides horses, 4 horses abreast, to keep them in control, in sync, is not an easy task. So a lot of schooling goes into that. So this is why, if you love the horse, you can school any horse. But
Okay.
if you're not a very good horseman, I would suggest that you take a horse that is a little bit quieter on the other side. The other thing that is very important is that this horse must be able to carry you, because you're going to swoop down like a diving board in and out to pick up a peg. So you don't want to off balance the horse. You don't want the horse to fall over onto the peg, because then your balance, your aim is going to be out. So the horse that I'm going to show you guys here, it was, I think, his first or second competition, and he didn't go very fast. So when I train horses, I don't go hell for leather, because any horse can run. You actually have to train control. The moment you've got control, you can push speed. I'm just going to show you the video that I'm going to show you is one of rings and pegs and of lemon and peg. So let me get there. Okay, this is Polly Pudding on his debut run with lemons.
So just talk us through this. So this is like a helmet cam.
Okay, this was a, what do you call those things, a GoPro. Okay, when you line up for the peg, you've got your 2 gallows in a row, and you're going to do, you've got lemons and pegs and rings and pegs. You've got individual lance, individual sword. Then you've got 4, which is a section for lance and a section for sword. And then you've got 4 riders behind each other, which is in file for lance, 1 around lance, 1 around sword. And then you do pairs, half teams, half section for lance and sword. So you've got the 2 weapons, which is your lance and your sword. So with a sword, you will do lemon and peg, and every lemon and every object has got a score. So with lemons, your lemon is 6 or nix, yeah? I can't hear you, Lorette.
On the right-hand side of your screen now, it says rings and peg. Is that what you would call a sword then?
No, the other one, that one was the sword. This is a lance. I'll play lance for you.
Okay,
Lance,
okay.
take 2 rings. It's a long like a javelin. So your
Okay.
ring is 6 or nix. You will just, it comes very quickly. Although this is still slow. There it is. There it is. And then your peg is 60 millimeters wide. So it used to be 75 mil. Then internationally, they thought, no, it's a better idea to go smaller. So now you ride 60 mil, and you would take 1 run on 60 mil, and then the next run you'll take on 40 mil. So that peg would give me 6 points. Taking those rings would give me 6 points. So I would have 18 points. And in South Africa, we judge style. So for a complete style run, and I didn't make any mistake, I lined up correctly, I didn't recover wide, I followed my weapons point for safety reasons so that I didn't stab somebody when I'm in the good habit of riding close and neat. So when I ride in a team, I won't stab anybody. So then I would get 3 points for style. Now, if you look at this picture here, there's a little horse, there's a little girl on it. That she's only little, but she rides with a normal size weapon, which is lighter. This is your section where they ride 4 abreast. And then you've got the half section where there's 2. And this is her taking rings. This is the lemon. This was at, this was at the World Championships in Oman. And then this is skillet arms. That there is a pricker. It's a little stick that's got a sharp point, either a nail that you've put in and grind it off, or you can take a dart. So when you jump, this was her first competition. So we said to her, don't worry about the balloon. Get over the jump. It cost you 42 points. If you can't jump that jump, you lose 42 points and then you don't stand a chance. If you want to make our national teams, it really is quite hectic. Here's our scoring system, just for those who want to see. The target is a total of 6 points, and we add style and speed in South Africa. You have to do 50 meters in 4.6 seconds if you're a junior and 4.3 seconds if you're a senior. If you go 4.31, you lose a speed point. If you go 5.31, you lose 2 speed points. So for every second you are slower than the required time, a point is deducted from your score. Style points are awarded for the discipline of the weapon handling, your horse mastership, as well as the neatness of the team. So when a team goes in together, they drill. In other words, they would present their weapon if they ride with a sword, or they present with a lance. So there's certain drill movements that they have to do, and it has to be in perfect synchronization. And at the end of the day, the juniors would try to reach a complete total of 192, and the seniors of 222. Now I can tell you, if you think that tradition is strong, you must try and change this scoring in our Tentpegging fraternity. You must say to them, listen, let's take that event out. They can say, but then we not have a 222. They are really, really hooked onto 222 and 192. It's actually quite beautiful if you look at the culture that has come from it. At our national championships, the national colors are awarded. Let me just take this away a little bit more. As on an annual basis to our national teams. All grades of riders are accommodated because we do promote our older people to stay in the sport. We've got our masters team that begins at 50. Then we've got grandmasters at 60, and we've got supermasters at 70. And we've got teams, men and ladies that are representing those teams. It's quite unique. Our international competitions, like I said, you've seen the log there. We've held competitions against these countries. My personal favorite is Jordan. They always come to me for international training at the Royal Show. They were supposed to come now to South Africa as well. Due to COVID, it didn't happen. Currently, as you can see, the ladies are the champions after winning the first ever ladies Tentpegging team. And the men, like I said, ranked second. We'll have to fix that. So hopefully they can fix that. Yeah, so that is a little bit about what we do and how we school our horses. Twofold. Again, like I said, sorry, I'll just stop it there. Basic dressage for me is very important. I'm proud to say that I've done a dressage training show. And I do a little bit of jumping and a little bit scared of eventing. Yeah, and we've done the archery, playing with that. So we still wait for Marcia to come and show us the details of it. I believe the horse must be versatile and the rider, especially if you have to ride subconsciously.
Thank you, Dalene. Dalene, we've got a question here from Jesse. What is the difference between Tentpegging and Western mounted games?
Tentpegging, you ride with lances and swords, and you pick up objects from the ground. Western mounted games, it's bending races and flag races and jump on and ride. Beautiful to do, fantastic to watch, exhilarating. We use mounted games, the old Gymkhana games, as a basis of schooling our horses, also to become responsive and also to train the child's mind before he can really take up a weapon. So we would use mounted games for that kind of thing. Mounted games in itself is very popular, but it is fast. A lot faster than Tentpegging, a lot more adrenaline pumping, I think.
Thank you. Okay, Marcia, can you talk to us a little bit about the type of horses that you would need? And then just quickly, how do you go about training a horse for this? Maybe you can just talk us through what a run is about and what the sport is about and kind of, you know, how it would go. in a competition, and how you would train this horse and what type of horse you would need?
Yeah, sure. Like I'm going to try and summarize that as as easy as I can. The type of horse that you need. I think that I was really enjoying what Dalene was saying, because you know, what we're doing is actually tying in quite a bit with what she also said, and is at the end of the day, if you're riding a horse with a weapon, and for us, a bow and arrow would be a weapon. The poundages that we can go up to at the end of the day on a short distance can be dangerous if someone stands right in front of it. So there's huge precautions taken into the sport. When it comes to the training, from the very beginning, safety is the utmost important thing. So when you're coming onto a track and you're saying, I need to shoot an arrow, I'm not going to have my hands on my reins, and I need to have the training and the discipline and the trust in place with my horse as my partner, to know that when I reach the top of my track and I ask him to go at a certain pace that I've prepared him for, I can trust him to do that. Because archery is something that you can do successfully if your mind isn't split thinking about, is my horse going to stop, is my horse going to run. You know, if you've got your mind running all over worried about what your horse is going to do, you're not going to have a very successful shot. And at the end of the day, when it comes to what type of horses we use, we really use any breed, any size. We've had Shetland ponies on the track with 4-year-olds. We've had big Shires, and it's come down to really the training of the horse, desensitizing, spending the time.
Okay. I think Marcia has just broken up there, and Lorette also said that she's got a problem with her thing. So Dalene, let's just go back to your sport again, the tent pegging. At what age can one start at the sport, and how long can it, you said now that you can go into your 70s old, but for how long can you carry on competing?
I think age is relevant. You look first, I think you should look at your health. The older you are, I think it's good to stay in the saddle. They were guys that I think they were over 80 that they were competing still. That's crazy. And that man rode faster than I did, and I got scared riding next to him. He was he was amazing. You lose your accuracy, but he stayed in the saddle and he enjoyed that. So he really set the record there, set the pace. My own daughter, she started competing at the age of 5, and her first competition was on a little Shetland pony, and the 60 centimeter brush jump was too high for it, so she couldn't do the skillet arms. So yeah, it depends. If you can do a canter, and like Marcia also says, you trust your horse, and you as a mom or a coach trust that the horse will not let the kid down, the sooner the better. But it's like in every other equestrian sport, if you start them soon, I think it's a lot more money out of your pocket if you start them later, you know. But we've reaped the benefits. I'm proud to say that my daughter is the current world champion for ladies. So it paid off, you know. Everything, we never even thought that we would get there when you start off. I just had a passion for horses, and she started at a very early age. I started later in life. My dad was a policeman. He first was the farmer, and then he was a policeman, and then he was a farmer, and then he was a policeman again. And in one of those stints, we got horses. And like I said, I was about grade 6 when I started riding. And juniors, I didn't make any national teams, but as a senior, I did. And I actually started riding very well when I started coaching, because I had to analyze and dissect and explain and understand. So coaching is very much part of understanding what you are doing, and then if you can understand that, you can coach it. So
yes, thank you. Okay, Lorette, thank you. It seems that you're back. Lorette, if we can just ask you quickly about the horses. If we talk about now the people out there a little bit that maybe not that might not be on here, but it's going to look at the video later. What type of horse would you need for someone at schools level versus the horse that you would need for someone at elite level? And also kind of price-wise, breed, maybe if you can just maybe elaborate on the type of horse that's suitable for the sport at the 2 levels.
Okay, so Jaco, my philosophy, which I'm sure a lot of people know, is I like to put my junior riders on a thoroughbred once they get off their ponies. Normally the flat races that come out of racing, that's always been my go-to for my successful juniors. The price is generally a little bit better than obviously the expensive warm bloods, and I find them safer. They take. I spoke to Aidan a couple of weeks ago, and I probably got everybody up in arms about it. But I had a crew of very successful juniors about 7, 8, 10 years ago, and my philosophy was to move them from their ponies onto a nice competitive thoroughbred horse that was maybe jumping 110, a meter 10, a meter 20. For the kids that had been jumping their ponies at a meter 10, I guess they were CAs at the time, so they were accomplished pony riders, but hadn't learned their trade as a junior. And pony to horse shift, I find it on the show jumping side is quite a big jump. So my reasoning was always that the thoroughbreds would take, I don't know if it was because they weren't specifically bred to show jump, but they would take a little bit more of a knock in inverted commas. They were more happy to come back if they'd had a little crash or, more forgiving. I just found in my experience, and this is just, it's personal. So that would probably be, I suppose maybe at schools level exactly the same. I don't coach any schools level. Well, I do my juniors, but I'm talking about entry level schools level. I don't do that. It's not my passion. I enjoy the high performance more. It's purely my personal feeling. For elite competition, we need a sport specific horse. And that's again my humble opinion. And then you would need your nicely bred, nicely produced warm bloods, local or imported. I can't see there being an importation or an international market post-COVID, unless you're super wealthy, because obviously our currency's taken a big knock. And I think import, and I think it's going to be prohibitively expensive. But I mean, we have absolutely a mass of quality local horses available on our doorstep. So I'm not sure why we would need to really go and look offshore.
Okay, Lorette, also just to come back a little bit to the competitions that we discussed earlier. I know at some point we had like tri-nations competitions where we could travel, and similar to what the Tentpegging guys are doing, that you go over there, you draw a horse out of a hat, whatever. Do you see more of that happening? Should it more of that happening? What is your view on it?
You know, from when we traveled, Jaco, it was the most amazing experience. The traveling, the camaraderie, the two disciplines. I mean, you rode your dressage, I did my show jumping, the two disciplines coming together. It's really, for an individual sport, it's really what we need. And I find even I don't think we take our team jumping here seriously enough. Our interprovincials, team riding is very different from your individual sport, and it brings on a different pressure. Sure, it would be phenomenal if we could revive those cross the sea travel. I do believe it could come back. We also need to have some passionate people. Tony was instrumental in that. That was his thing, and he was able to pull it off, and we had nice sponsors at that time. I think personally we need to relook at finances, how we could make it work logistically. I think it's all doable. We just need a little bit more passion. We need to stop or not to be so fearful of post-COVID and get stuck in a little bit and be passionate about our various disciplines.
Okay, thank you. I see Marcia is almost back. We're going to give her a chance just now. Dalene, if we can come back to you. If we talk about coaching tent pegging, what is it about? Do you stand on the side? Do you have real-time talk? What is it that you help people with? Is it just talk us a little bit about it? What would a coach in tent pegging need? Not in character, but like real skills. What is it that they need to impart, and how do they do it in a coaching session in tent pegging?
There's various schools out there. Obviously, every coach has got their own preference of what they want to do. But what seems to be working overall is a group training. You will find in Kimberley, I've got a friend there, Benny Heckert, they host holiday camps, holiday tent pegging courses in Bethlehem, in Beaufort West. That seems to be the easier way for them to do it, because most of their kids, okay, I'm regressing a little bit, but just to give you a little bit of a background, most of those kids are at boarding school, so they're not there every weekend. I'm in the fortunate situation where I've got city children who don't go to boarding school, who can take an afternoon off, and they are also here on a Friday afternoon after school, Saturday all day, and then sometimes they will pop in on a Sunday for another lesson. Because tent pegging has got 10 events, you immediately can calculate every entry by 10. So if there's 2 people, or if there's 10 people at a show, you would be competing against 10 times 10. Every event has got its own unique approach. So if you do an individual event, you have to be aware of your surroundings and not be put off by them. So as a coach, you will take that rider and you will zone in on him, and you will equip him you will stand on the ground. Unfortunately, if you are a coach that has ridden before and that has achieved before, it's easier because you can do that mental preparation in that rider. So you've got the rider, you've got the horse, and you've got the weapon. So there are 3 facets here. So it takes a while to find, or for people to find their way in saying, I really want to do this sport, and they're competitive enough. It takes a certain kind of person, a certain kind of person that rides horses anyway. So you have to have that edge. You must be competitive. You must be able to take a lose and be able to come back. So the psychological approach of it is for me a huge thing. The second thing is I have to equip my rider to ride a horse. So I will do the riding school stuff with passion, because if the horse is balanced, if the horse is in self-carriage, and the horse is responsive to your leg aid, your seat aid, and he understands the bit, accepting the bit, then you've just got so much easier ride. If the horse hollows himself and he resists the bit and he just pulls and hangs on you, it is not nice. There's no other word, it's not nice. So then you've got the weapon technique. So from a little age, we will give them a plastic toy weapon. Little age meaning from they start riding. So I don't like to take them much younger than grade 1 or maybe grade R. They must understand the execution of an instruction. So if you give them an instruction as little as they are, obviously up to their level, you'll say to them, keep your heels down. They must at least understand I have to listen to my teacher. If I don't know what, then she will show me. You mustn't have a kid that doesn't pay attention. It makes it dangerous for all horse sports. So from little age, we will teach them, and like I said just now, we will use the Gymkhana games. We will teach them to carry water. We will teach them to carry a flag. We will teach them to go barrel racing so they can steer their horses. And while they're carrying a cup with water, they subconsciously learn to ride subconsciously. So that aspect of riding is very important. There is the literal dressage movements. I don't obviously like calling it dressage because I'm not at your guys' level that I can actually compare the movements that what we do. But I do want a leg heel. I do want a a turn on the forehand. I do want to turn on the hindquarters just to make my horse supple. Because remember, I'm riding on him and I'm diving down on the right. Or if I'm left-handed, I dive down on the left. So I can make my horse very one-sided if I only do Tentpegging. But I like my horse to be supple. So from the ground, I will instruct my riders. I'll ask them to do this kind of stuff. In a group, it's easier because you will see this one gets it, then the others can follow. Oh, yeah. Oh, is that what you do? I had to laugh the other day. I had this young boy that I said to him, when your horse gives his face, you must hold it there. But you mustn't pull it there. You must hold it there. And he literally understood me as to, I must hold it there. You mustn't. About 2 Saturdays ago, I explained again to him, and I let him ride another horse because I'm in the fortunate position that I've got 33 horses. And he gets on this horse, he's like, oh my word. And he got it. He just got it. So last Saturday, 2 Saturdays ago, he got it. Last Saturday, I thought to myself, why don't you explain to your friend what you just felt so that I can hear the language the youngsters will use, you know? Well, I had to go, ish. He used exactly my words, explained exactly how I explained it, but he got it. And the other kid is looking at him, oh, you know, so the words we're using is the words we're using. But when they get it, it's so nice. And I let them then talk to each other. I very much use the group. So there will be 4 riders together, or there'll be 2 riders. If I know that that rider struggles with getting his horse to release and to work through the back, and then I'll put him with somebody that just the penny drop, because they will talk and communicate. And then that way the horse benefits. And it's also very much a camaraderie that Lorette said you guys don't probably know. We do have a camaraderie. But can I tell you this, Lorette? In camaraderie, you know that word B-I-T-C-H? Rife. It's no easier when you're in a team than when you're in an individual. But I won't give this up. I will go into any other sport, but I will still do that adrenaline rush of picking up a peg. You asked me what made me choose this sport. First, I think there was more boys than girls, and I thought this would be nice. Secondly, I just love picking up that peg, and I was never a master of it. It keeps you humble. You cannot understand how humbling it is. I think it was my daughter rode the 1 championships, and probably for 2 years she never missed an individual sword peg. Never. 1 chance comes and she misses it. I tell you, the moment you go like, I got this, your head is not right, boy. You got nothing. So it's humbling.
That's the humbler is all our equestrian sports. Thank you, Dalene. Marcia, I see you back. Can we just run back to Marcia quickly? Marcia, tell me if I'm wrong here, but it's basically also similar to the Tentpegging, that you've got a line or a run that you've got to go through, and at some point you will drop the reins, you will take up your bow, aim at your target, so the horse moving, but the target is a stationary one, and you've got 1 chance to hit it, and whoever gets closest to the target gets it. But there's also 3, or I don't know, maybe more different ones. There's like a target above you, 1 behind you, 1 next to you, whatever. Can you just quickly correct me if I'm wrong there? And then how would you coach someone to go?
To finish off what I was saying, basically any horse could do mounted archery, provided that he's desensitized to the bow properly and trained for the track. And yes, coming back to what you're saying, we do go down a track. So we've got a barrier each side, which could be just a tape, or sometimes it could be bales that you pack along the side. It just gives the horse a visual indication of where to run, which there's two main different categories for mounted archery. The one would be the Korean styles, which is a main style where you've got your target about 7 meters from the side of the track, and it's linked to speed for the most part. So we're looking at a track of about 100 meters to 150 meters, And you've got from 1 to 3 to 5 targets, depending which class or which category you've entered in. And a horse is required to enter at the top of the track, which triggers a timer, and to go down the track at a specific pace. Now that pace is determined by the rider, because the rider needs to keep the horse at the speed that they're able to do the archery. So if you are still a novice archer and you're still learning how to get your arrow onto your bow and you're still struggling with the technique, you would technically start off with your horse just walking down the track. And what we would like to see is a horse to come in at the top of the track nice and calm, and just calmly walk down the track while the rider is focusing on the archery. As you advance in both your riding and your archery skills, the speed increases. And on a competition level, you're going to get a point for your speed. So obviously the faster you go and hit a point, you'd get bonus points for your speed, which is capped, but obviously there's small rules in between. So on the Korean styles, you're looking at, on the higher levels, the faster horses with archers shooting the most accurate arrows, being the winners for those classes. Then you're looking at another style called the Hungarian style. And if you look at how they are competing in that style in Hungary, you're looking at an elevated target which has 3 faces. As you enter in your track, if you could visualize it, you've got one face or one target facing you, you've got one which is next to the track, and then you've got one facing the back of the track. So it kind of, from the side, it would look like a half moon. Alternatively, in some cases, they have the target on an automatic swivel. So as the rider rides past the target, the face of the target is always on the rider. I'm not sure if I'm explaining that well. In this case, you want your horse to go slightly slower, and you want to use as much time as you've got available, because there's also a minimum time. So in other words, I can't walk my horse down the track. If I'm competing on the higher levels, I'm cantering. It's compulsory to canter. So as you're coming into the track, you, in the Hungarian style, you actually can shoot as many arrows as you've got with you. So that's where the challenge comes in. So that would be, you want your horse to go a little bit slower, and the more arrows you can hit the target with, the more points you get. And again, there is a little bit of a speed play. There are bonus points again for speed, but that's where the game comes in. That's where you as an athlete and the horse team come together and go, at what speed can I shoot? How many arrows can I shoot? How fast would I like my horse to go in order to achieve the best points that I could do? And that's what you then train your horse. It's all about timing for us. So if I'm personally able to shoot in a certain amount of arrows, and I would need my horse to run 14 seconds over 100 meters, then that's what I would train him to do. If I drop my reins at the top of the track and I'm focusing on my archery, I need to know that my horse will do those 14 seconds that I've trained him to do each run. And this is, I think that's where the trust comes in as well. So really any horse can do it, but it's all about the training that you've put into him and the connection and the trust that you have with him as a rider.
But Marcia, surely you've got to be physically strong to pull that bow and arrow. I mean, it's not an easy thing to just pull it. So how much off the horse training is there?
In the beginning, I'd say 50-50. If you're starting off and let's say, for instance, we take a scenario where someone's quite a good horse rider and they're coming in and they're saying, hey, you know, I really would like to give this a go. Where do I start? And where we would start is, I don't need to go and teach you how to do the rising trot. So for the first introduction sessions, they would literally be coming for archery lessons. And that's where we teach you how to do archery in a specific style suitable for mounted archery. Because if you think of the normal archery, people often think of compound archery, which is the bows with the wheels on the end. And if you look at traditional archery, both of those are archers that are standing stationary. So the techniques that they're using to draw those bows is not going to work on the back of the horse, where you've got motion. You're not only cantering down a track, but you've also got the motion of the horse itself within the trot or the canter. So the way that we hold the bow and the way that we hold the arrow and draw the arrow is going to be based on a different technique and a different style. And those styles actually have come down from history, from the countries that have used mounted archery as part of their war technique. So if you're looking at the Mongolians and the Japanese and the Chinese and other countries as well, they've got specific techniques that they train their military in order to gallop in into inborn shoot as you not stand. So those techniques are a little bit different. But if you're starting from scratch and you've never had a bow in your hand and you've never tried this, we can get people to shoot confidently within a very short period of time. Although it looks very complicated, if you've got the correct guidance and someone that can demonstrate the correct techniques, it's something that you catch on actually very quickly. And once you've got the feel for the archery, if you're a confident rider, to put the two together really is not that hard. And as with any sport, you're not going to start cantering down the track and trying to shoot on the high levels. Even though you might be a very good rider, you may very well be starting at the walk just to gain your confidence and your technique with the bow. And as it grows and as you feel more confident and you start loading your arrows and shooting your arrows faster and more accurately, you could say, I feel confident enough to try this at the trot. I feel confident enough to try this at the canter. So, I always caution people to say, by all means, have a look at the videos where people are galloping down the track and doing mounted archery, but please don't expect that that's where you start. You start at the bottom like you do
jumping at
any
the high
other
levels,
sport.
and then watching the guys at Sinisa level jumping the smaller things. So yeah, it all happens with age. And with time in the saddle. Marcia, just quickly, a short answer. How much does a bow and arrow cost? Is it a customized thing? Is it?
Jaco, it's kind of like asking, what does a horse cost? But entry level, you're looking at between, let's say from about 2,000 Rand would be the bow, up to let's say about 10,000 for the average type of bows. Obviously they can go a lot more expensive than that, depending on who makes them and what style they're made with. And then your arrows, you're looking at between about 150 to 200 Rand an arrow. So your equipment does cost you a little bit, but if you look after your equipment like you would look after your bridle or you'd look after your saddle, it's a worthwhile investment.
Thank you, Marcia. Lorette, if I can just ask you quickly something about coaching. How do you keep yourself sharp on coaching? What is your education process? Or is it once you know the technical side, you know the technical side? Is there, we often talk about the what to coach and the how to coach. So how do you see these two things, and how do you keep yourself sharp?
Constant learning, Jaco. These interactive sessions with people across different platforms and across different disciplines. I'm not a big reader. If I have to, I will read something. I like to engage. So it would be engagement with engaging with another coach or visuals. I like to employ other methods like sports psychology. To me, it's my daily growth as a coach is multifaceted. from the horse side, from my riding side, from my coaching side. I try and bring it all in, which I guess is probably the same with the other girls. Yeah, I think as my riding experience increases, so I think my coaching does too. And I think as I get older, I'm 45 in August. Certainly, I think I get old. I think I get more empathetic. And certainly, my coaching, I think, has improved with age, because of me learning things, me obviously having a daughter and a teenage daughter, and teaching her things. I don't know. I think coaching improves in daily practice. You know, it's not just
so are you
me standing
coaching
out there
differently than what you were taught as a child? Is it the style changed for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's obviously, like I said, I prefer the high performance side. Yeah, it was very much. I don't know. I had quite a German base as a kid, German style. I think now coaching has evolved into the mind aspect. You've also got to get into your rider. You know, it's there's a lot of psychology, breaking down barriers in the mind that we would never have engaged as me as a teenager. I started riding when I was 9. There was nothing about, shit, you've had a bad weekend or you've broken up with your boyfriend or something like that. It was just get on your pony and get on with it. And if you fall off, get back on. And, you know, it was very much clinical, maybe. Now I think I think Equestrian's evolved with the rest of the sporting codes in that it's your diet, the 4-legged athlete, the 2-legged athlete, you know, keeping physically fit, keeping mentally fit, you know.
Thank you. Marcia, if I can ask you, do you think coaches tend to coach in a style that they were taught as? And what do you think? Do we have a moral obligation almost to change and adapt, or should your style be your style? What is your view on it?
Jaco, I think we certainly all, when we start off coaching, I do think that we start off coaching perhaps how we've been coached, because that's what we know. But if there's one thing that I've learned, and is that as time goes on, you get exposed to different coaches and different styles of coaching, and if you've got an attitude that you want to learn as much as you can from other people and other coaches, as you collect more information and more styles, I do think that your own coaching style starts to transform and improve. I don't think that we ever reach a point where you go, okay, this is it, you know, this is how I'm going to coach, and you don't ever look beyond that, because even if we take something as simple as technology, as technology changes and we've got different apps, for instance, that become available to us, where we can talk to riders through a microphone, which means I can stand back a little bit, or in other words, taking videos of people and being able to play it back to them and say, let me show you what it looked like, let me stop you in that moment. It also changes smaller techniques of how we're coaching. So I do think that it's a constant growth for myself. I'm speaking for myself. I think it's a constant growth for me, and the more information I can get and the more I can grow from other people's experiences, I feel that I have more to offer, and I do think that's a nice approach.
Thank you. And then Dalene, if I can just close with you, coach development. I mean, you've been now one of the coaches that's been on the kind of the FEI group of coach developers, you know, going around, so not around South Africa, but, you know, going for training and how to develop other coaches, so on. How do you feel about being able to help coaches in how to coach, so their style of coaching that's outside your discipline? For instance, if you were placed with, I don't know, polocross people, and you know, to help them with their style, do you think it's possible? Is it whatever all these maybe you can just digress a little bit on what we went through in this coach development training thing, and just switch on your mic. Huh?
Okay, let's talk. Jaco, I get very excited when you talk about coaching. I don't think it's just cross disciplines. I've been exposed to cross cultures, cross languages, barriers. I mean, people, we don't all speak English. And most certainly I don't speak the best English. My English is very much based on Afrikaans. I translate directly, and then English people don't understand me. I think it is exciting that you can cross-pollinate. And you don't need to be a top show jumper to coach it. No disrespect, sorry. I won't go out and sell myself as that. But I'm sure that I could learn from Lorette, Marcia, which I know I've learned a lot from Marcia. We've done that. And I'm sure that I've had experiences where they could learn from. And with what we've learned, the very much, Lorette, the psychological approach, you have to meet the person where they are at. And if I had to go and do a clinic with a bunch of show jumpers, I'll be very nervous. Because number one, they probably all speak English and I don't speak a very correct English. So I'll do a very good research on what they've done. Like I said, I ventured into dressage. So I did a dressage walk trot test, but my horse decided that he would be the first one to do it in walk canter. So I was a little bit the laughing stock of the day, but I most certainly learned something that day. That it doesn't matter where I am at competition level, I can still communicate and learn from other people.
Yes.
And I think that if I had to go to that clinic and you tell me it is a jumping clinic, what have I got to offer? I would call somebody like Lorette and say, listen, give me the technical stuff of your discipline. Tell me, how do you approach this? Because that's what Liam did. He threw himself in the deep water, and when he asked us to ride a circle, what do you do in a circle? But he went and he gleaned some knowledge from somebody else so that you could understand. I mean, we're all intelligent human beings. That's why we ride horses, because we can think out of the box. We're not one-track minded. We are very versatile. And I think with horse riders and coaches especially, you have to be. Because like we just said now, it's a four-legged athlete, it's a two-legged athlete, it's the combination of the two, and then you throw in a bow and an arch, then you throw in a water jump, you throw in a fence that can't fall. So you have to think on the spot, out of the box. And I think God blessed us. Sorry, I am Christian. I don't apologize for being Christian. I don't want to offend anybody. God has blessed us with everybody with a fellowship feeling. I need to interact with people. And I've done a lot of, these little silly little things of what is your character, what is this, what is this. And through the years, I've stumbled on a couple that were very good. There's the Gallup strengths. The companies use that. And if you go to the Gallup strengths, there's 34 strengths. So if my strength is thinking, and I'm not a practical executing person, then I must know what my strength is and I must operate in that. Then I must know when it comes to the practical stuff, I call Lorette or I call Marcia. We must know who we are to be able to pass knowledge on, to show other people, to develop them. And that is, it's actually got nothing to do with tentpegging. It's got nothing to do with archery or show jumping. It's got to do to get the mind to work. And for me, that's hugely exciting. I think if everybody could go in with an open mind like that and see what your strength is, don't try me to operate in my weakness. My weakness is mercy. I don't show mercy to people. I don't know how to. Man, get on the horse and ride. What's wrong with you? Why are you crying? Shame. Okay, get over it. So I don't have that. But I can see a problem coming. Before you take that jump or before you go down the track, I can see there's a dog coming out of the forest that's going to skrik your paard se gat af. Yeah, you understand? So if we can all acknowledge our strengths and operate with that and then combine that, then all this coaching stuff is going to be brilliant. Because I think it's about partnerships.
I just have a question.
Yeah, sure.
Do the ladies do they teach at all on the floor before the rider gets on to steer somebody? I don't mean that, you know what I mean? Or it's got me very intrigued. I think we should have a cross-pollination of all of us
like a
on our different
decathlon.
horse. Yes.
You know what, Lorette? I heard from a guy that actually trained polo cross, and he said to me, "Why punish your horse if you are inadequate?" So sadly, I have to say to you, I kill you on the ground first.
Yes,
and then
okay,
put you on the horse.
that's what I wanted to know. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that made sense to me. Even if you are a rider, and is it the
Yeah.
same for Marcia as well? Do you start to bow and arrow off the horse? Because that would make sense to me. I just wondered, same thing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. We start off with ground archery
Yes.
up to a certain level. You need to have a certain competence before I put you anywhere near a horse.
Marcia, do the targets
go on foot first and show your kids how to jump the course?
Oh hell no. Marcia, do your targets move when you start to teach the athlete on the floor?
No, because you see,
if
you take that run that was rings and pegs, you saw the lance was quite steady, because I go into a light seat like you would do in jumping. My stirrups are, it's probably I'm probably in an eventing length of stirrup, okay? So I'm slightly out of the saddle, I balance, I don't drop my heels and lock them at the bottom, because I absorb the movement of the horse in my heels, but my heels must be down, because the moment, okay, now it gets very technical, but what happens when I make you run is you have to hold that lance in the same position that you would on the horse. And if you can separate your hand from your body in your mind, then your lance is going to be steady, and you're going to take a 60 millimeter ring, 50 mil, sorry, they're 50 mil diameter. And if you can do that while you are running, you will have no problem taking
Okay.
Right,
wow, ladies, it's been very interesting. Thank you.
Almost run out of time here.
Yeah, so sorry guys.
We're just going to ask Regular to just put the contact details for us. So for everyone, there's Dalene Baksa from Tentpegging. Some emails if you girls, if there's a problem, please just let us know, but I think that's fine. And then for the South African Lipizzaner fundraiser, please guys, back a buddy, and please just tell your clients and your athletes just to go and support the Lipizzaners. I mean, that's one of the few real heritage and good things we've got in horses in South Africa. So let's keep on supporting them. And then the YouTube channel, if you want to, all these videos are on there. So just look on how you spell it, Equestrian Coach SA, one word, and then team the other word. You can just search for that channel on YouTube and you'll get there. Or you can send us an email and add you to the mailing list. And then for next week, we're going to be back on next week, Tuesday. So we're not going to skip a week. With the COVID whole thing, we're getting into online horse auctions. And so we've got someone from the Calaho, who's the next auction taking place. So the first online auction of sport horses in South Africa. So we've got someone from Calaho coming to talk to us and showing us around their web interface and so on. So I think it'll be an interesting one for all of you coaches out there who's got clients maybe shopping. This would be a good one to come and listen to. So we see you all again next Tuesday at 7 o'clock. Thank you very much to Regular for putting all of this together. And then thank you to our guest speakers, Dalene, Marcia, and Lorette. Thank you very much. It was great having you. Good night, everyone. Please stay safe. And hopefully our president doesn't do the lockdown of the liquor stores in this week. But otherwise, go tomorrow and stock up. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thanks,
Jaco. Thanks, ladies.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, ladies.
Bye.